welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving headfirst into something that really touches all of us, healthcare quality.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a stack of sources covering the big picture, the organizations setting the standards, the partners helping hospitals actually meet them.
Right.
And we're bringing it right down to the personal level, understanding your own health info, specifically those, sometimes pretty confusing lab results.
That's right. Yeah, we've pulled material from some key players.
Yeah.
Folks like Joint Commission International, the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers, that's NABH in India.
Okay.
And also insights from a consultancy called Supreme Medic, plus some really practical notes on how to decode those lab reports.
So the mission today is to unpack all this stuff and hopefully find the most important nuggets for you so you can be, well-informed.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start at the top. The folks who are literally writing the book on quality healthcare standards. First up, Joint Commission International, or JCI.
Yeah, JCI. So our sources really position them as a global leader in this whole area. Healthcare quality, patient safety.
Global leader, okay.
And what's really significant about JCI isn't just that they set standards, it's their incredible reach and experience.
How so?
Well, they're working in over 70 countries. I mean, think about that. Asia, Europe, the Middle East. They've seen pretty much every kind of healthcare system and challenge out there.
Wow, 70 countries. That's huge.
Yeah, and they've got over 20 years in the game, more than 600 experts worldwide. So they bring a massive amount of practical knowledge,
So these are the ones actually authoring these really rigorous international standards we hear about?
Exactly. And they've even developed specific things like the International Patient Safety Goals. These target the areas where things are most likely to go wrong in patient care, sort of the high-risk zones.
Makes sense. Proactive.
Right. Their core mission, according to the sources, is basically to enable and affirm the highest standards of quality and patient safety for everyone, everywhere. They're setting that really high bar globally.
Okay, that's the global picture with JCI. Now, closer to home for many listeners, we have the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers, NABH.
NABH, yes. This is a constituent board of the Quality Council of India. So think national level.
Got it.
And NABH was set up specifically to, establish and operate accreditation programs for healthcare organizations within India.
So tailoring those high standards for the Indian context.
Precisely. They aim to cater to consumer needs and set benchmarks for the health industry there. You can kind of think of them as the national counterpart to JCI, making sure those quality principles fit the local landscape.
Okay, so whether you're looking at a hospital abroad that maybe boasts JCI accreditation or you're seeking care locally in India at an NABH accredited place, these organizations are doing really crucial work behind the scenes. They're defining what good, safe healthcare actually looks like.
Yeah, it's foundational, so you can hopefully trust the care you're getting. It's like they provide the essential blueprint.
Okay, but a blueprint is one thing, right? Standards are written down. How does a hospital actually, get there? Who helps them take that blueprint and turn it into a real functioning, safe environment?
Great question. And that leads us right into the next piece. This is where organizations like Supreme Medic Consultancy come into the picture.
Supreme Medic, okay.
Our sources describe them as these trusted partners who basically support hospitals through that whole complex journey from the very beginning, like planning, all the way through to actually achieving accreditation.
And who do they typically work with? Is it just the big hospitals?
No, actually, they work with a whole range. Small clinics, nursing homes, right up to those massive multi-specialty and super specialty hospitals, even diagnostic centers. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right. And what kind of help do they provide? Is it just paperwork?
Oh, it's way more than that.
Yeah.
Their services are incredibly comprehensive based on what we read. They help with the physical stuff, like the initial planning and design of the facility,
right?
Finding the right people, so recruitment for doctors, nurses, other staff.
The human element, crucial.
Totally. And then they get into the operational nuts and bolts, implementing quality management systems, which means, getting things ready for those accreditations like NABH, but also NABL, which is key.
NABL, what's that?
That's the specific accreditation for laboratories. Super important for ensuring accurate test results, which ties into our later topic.
Okay. Good connection.
Yeah. And they also dive deep into just managing the hospital operations day to day, helping create SOPs.
Standard operating procedures.
Exactly. Those detailed playbooks for every task, making sure things are done consistently and safely. They look at how well the hospital is using its resources, maybe help restructure departments if needed, put in place hospital information systems.
The IT backbone.
Right, the software managing everything from patient records to billing. And they even get involved in supplying critical equipment. The sources mention things like modular OTs.
Operating theaters.
Yeah, prefabricated ones that meet really strict sterility standards. And medical gas pipeline systems. Those are literally lifelines in a hospital. Oxygen and so on.
Wow, so they really cover the gamut from the building plans to the oxygen pipes.
Pretty much. And what's also kind of interesting for the sources is their approach to investment. Sometimes they'll partner with businesses or investors wanting to start a hospital. And they might even take equity, like a stake in the hospital, as part of their fee.
Huh. So they have real skin in the game.
Exactly. It shows how deeply involved they can become. Their success is tied to the hospital actually succeeding in meeting those high standards.
And you mentioned associated platforms, like HospiMatch.
Yeah, their blog, HospiMatch, covers a really wide range of healthcare topics. Financing, managing chronic diseases, new tech, therapies. It just gives you a sense of the broad healthcare world these implementation partners have to understand.
Okay, so putting it together. JCI and NABH set the high bar, the ambitious goals.
Right, the what?
And then organizations like Supreme Medic are the ones, sort of, down in the trenches, helping hospitals build the right structure, hire the right people, create the processes.
Oh, it's actually do it.
Yeah.
To provide that safer, higher quality care.
Yeah.
The standards demand. They're translating the blueprint into reality.
Got it. Okay, so that covers the system side standards being set, hospitals working hard, hopefully with help to meet them.
Yeah.
But like we said at the start, quality healthcare also comes right down to the information you receive about your own body. Let's shift gears and talk about something many of us have looked at and probably scratched our heads over, your lab results.
Yeah, this is where quality gets really personal, doesn't it? You get that report, it's full of numbers, abbreviations, maybe some things flagged in bold.
Yeah, potentially alarming.
Right. And it's crucial to understand what it means. But our sources are really clear on the golden rule right up front.
Which
the absolute best way, really the only reliable way to understand your results is to talk to your doctor.
That is the fundamental takeaway here, isn't it? Just talk to your doctor.
Absolutely. Because those numbers, they just don't tell the full story on their own. Your doctor is the only one who can interpret them correctly in your specific context.
Right. And this is where the sources really hammer home the dangers of trying to figure it out yourself, especially, the first thing everyone does, Googling it.
Oh, yeah. Big warning sign there. Test values aren't standalone things. A number that's a bit high or a bit low doesn't automatically mean disaster. It doesn't always mean disease.
Because the doctor's looking at more than just that number.
Exactly. They're looking at those numbers alongside your symptoms, your medical history, any meds you're taking, your age, your gender, a whole bunch of factors. Google. It just gives you data points, often worst-case scenarios, and ignores all the simple, common reasons for slight variations.
That makes sense. And the normal ranges themselves aren't always simple.
Not at all. That's another key point. Those reference ranges, they vary. They vary widely between different labs. They might use different machines, different methods.
Okay.
They vary by gender, by age, even by specific health conditions. Like the normal range for someone who's pregnant is different, or if you have a chronic illness. So what's normal on the sheet might not be normal for you.
So even if something's flagged as abnormal, it's not necessarily a diagnosis right there.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
It needs correlation. Your doctor needs to look at it alongside a physical exam, your symptoms. Sometimes, honestly, the test just needs to be repeated. Or maybe other follow-up tests are needed before anyone can conclude anything.
So when you actually look at the report, what are the key things you'll see?
Well, you'll have your identifying info, obviously. Yeah. Then the test names, when the sample was collected. And then the results themselves, numbers or maybe text like positive or negative.
Right.
And crucially, right next to those results, you'll see the reference ranges and the units of measurement. And pay attention to those units. MGDL, MOLAL, they can differ, which adds another layer of confusion if you're trying to compare old reports or look things up online.
Good tip. Watch the units.
Yeah. Reports will often highlight results outside the typical range. And if something's really critical needing immediate attention, the lab usually reports that directly and quickly to the doctor anyway.
Okay. And results can be just numbers or other types.
Right. You can have quantitative results or numbers, or qualitative, like positive, negative, reactive, non-reactive, sometimes inconclusive. Understanding the type of result matters, along with those units we mentioned.
So it really underscores the doctor's role here. They're the integrator.
Totally. They synthesize everything, your history, the physical exam, these lab results, to figure out which values are truly concerning for you specifically, and then decide the next steps. Is it more tests, treatment, lifestyle changes, or maybe just keeping an eye on things?
So what should you do with your lab report then as a patient? Just ignore it until the appointment?
No, not ignore it. The sources say definitely bring it to your doctor's appointment. Have it with you.
Okay.
But don't just look at it beforehand and panic or jump to conclusions. Instead, maybe prepare some questions.
Like what?
Like, okay, what does this specific number mean for me? Or, given my history, is this actually within normal limits in my case? Or, simply, is this something I should be worried about?
That sounds much more productive than frantic Googling.
Exactly. And the big don't is, avoid making any medical decisions based solely on those numbers yourself. The sources really highlight the emotional toll of misinterpreting. Unnecessary stress, anxiety, maybe pushing for tests you don't even need, just a lot of fear.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So, yeah, to sum up this part for the material, your lab report, it's a tool, a useful piece of information, but your doctor's expertise, that's the essential key to understanding it and acting on it safely and correctly. As one source put it quite simply, don't guess your health, ask your doctor.
Don't guess your health, ask your doctor. I like that. Okay, so let's try and pull all these different threads together now.
Yeah, let's connect the dots.
Yeah.
We started way up high, right? With the global and national organizations like JCI and NABH setting the bar, establishing those rigorous standards for what safe, high-quality healthcare should look like.
Right, the framework. Then we looked at the crucial role of those implementation partners, the consultancies like Supremedic.
The ones on the ground helping hospitals navigate the, let's face it, really complex process of actually meeting those standards in their day-to-day operations, their infrastructure, their staffing.
The how, exactly. And then finally, we brought it right back to you, the individual patient, and the importance of understanding your own health data, specifically those lab results, but with that huge caveat.
That the expert interpretation from your doctor is absolutely vital. You can't skip that step.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it? This whole pursuit of quality and safety, it's like a multi-layered effort.
It really is.
It requires standardization, sure, but also expert guidance and interpretation at literally every single level, from how a hospital is built and run, all the way down to making sense of the numbers on your personal test report.
It's all interconnected, all striving for, hopefully, better, safer care.
Yeah.
It's quite a system when you think about it, working behind the scenes to ensure accuracy and safety.
Absolutely. Well, we've certainly taken a deep dive today into these layers of healthcare quality, from those big international bodies right down to your personal health data.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. So here's maybe something to think about as we wrap up. We know technology is advancing, right? You're getting more and more direct access to your own health information, maybe through apps or patient portals.
Definitely a trend.
So given that, how does this fundamental need for expert interpretation and context, like we just discussed with lab results, how does that continue to shape patient safety? And what does it mean for that really vital relationship you have with your doctor going forward?
That's a great question to ponder. How does technology and human expertise continue to work together?
Exactly. Something to mull over on your own health journey.